And I just want to thank everybody for being here, especially Misha, because she is going to share with us her journey to getting bi-coastal representation and how it's all worked out. And so I'm just grateful for her mostly being so glad to see you in New York.
Thank you.
Right?
Hi. I'm in New York right now. Yeah.
Yes, great. So I want to make sure any of you who are listening just have a really open mind around this conversation. The reason why I like to do these conversations with people who have found representation is because I know how easy it is for an actor to slip into, it's about your credits, it's about your reel, it's about getting a referral, it's about creating a target list, about all the malarkey that we can hold in front of ourselves that actually keeps us playing small and doesn't allow you to really reach out and allow someone, I hate to use this word, but like to discover you, to fall in love with you, to choose you. And Misha's story, I think, really encapsulates that. So I'm going to have her get into it. So can we get into it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Sure.
So first things first, tell me, share your results just to start us off.
Well, right now I have an agent and a manager who I love. So, I mean, that was the goal. That was the dream, right?
And you had, but wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you. And you had one different markets or something weird. Can you explain a little bit of how that all played out?
No, well, I was only marketing New York. That was the only market I did. But I'm from LA. Okay. And there was some confusion with one of the people who was interested because I have a 323. Like first she was like, well, how's the weather in LA? And I was like, what? And I thought like maybe she recognizes that like 99% of my credits are LA. And it's because I also had a 323 area code.
Got it.
So note to anyone out there, it can be confusing. And at first she was like, oh, I only am interested if you're in LA. And I was like, but well, also in the moments when I hadn't heard back from as many people as I thought I would, or I was having those, doubts and fears, as a way to just calm myself down, I was like, if I don't get representation in New York, you know what I'm going to do? I'll just move to LA and start over. I'll just
so you had this
whole process over again.
Plan B. I had a plan B going out to kind of soothe yourself.
Yes, that was 100% my plan. Like meditation moment before my meeting, and then the meeting, she's like, "How's LA?" And I was like, "Oh no! Like I made this. I pulled this into the universe or whatever." Right. And then it was still like on the table that maybe I would go back to LA with her, without her. But now I found an agent that like does do both coasts, although to change, I would have to re-interview and be liked by the other side. And, it's not a done deal and move across coast, but things are going so well in New York right now. I'm also I want to slow down
so everyone catches it. So you're working with an agent who is in New York, and the manager is representing you, but is she in LA or is she?
So she represents clients on both coasts.
Got it.
She's not in either right now, but but I'm being sent out for, I'm bi-coastal.
Yes, hello, yes, it's the dream, it's the dream.
Yeah.
And I just want to zero in on something that also I think is important for people to take away is you signed with both a manager and agent in the same time frame, because I think there also can be a limiting belief of like, you have to get one and then you can get the other, you can't get them at the same time. And can you tell so you had the meeting with the agent, the manager who was like, I only want you if you're in LA, and then, but maybe not. And then the agent in New York, and what was it? Who did you say yes to first? Like, how did that kind of play its way out?
Well, that's kind of complicated too, because I said yes to both a manager and an agent prior to the ones that I'm with now.
Wow. So wait, before we go down that path, sorry, I want to hear that, but I want to just make sure we clock into your, you said you collected the data of when you sent out your emails. Can you share those numbers with us? Because I think this is always super illuminating for people.
You want like how many emails I sent?
Yeah. Well, tell me how many, could you have a percentage kind of, can you work out the percentage?
Of like, I had the percentage of like who opened them, who clicked them. You want those?
Yeah.
So like
better than number. I think numbers can be more confusing. I think percentages will be more helpful for anyone who's not indoctrinated to how we did this.
Totally. So, there was a few emails, like sometimes you had to follow up or whatever. So like I kind of giving an average across them. Like 65% opened my email.
Holy crap. Yeah. That's so good. Okay.
12% clicked on my materials. And this is the part I'm proud of. Of anyone who clicked my materials, almost everyone responded. So it was 12% click and 11% response.
That is awesome. And the responses could be not now, yes,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
right. Yeah. And
And
how
I
many
got a
meetings?
lot of, because I also sent my emails like right in Thanksgiving, like right before the holidays, in the middle of Thanksgiving. Like my second ones were sent like a week before. My third was sent a little bit after. Like it was right, not in the most ideal time too.
Well, I just want to compliment you on being willing. I remember when we talked during that time, I was like, just be willing that you might have lower numbers just because people will be, I mean, also let's remember we had a really wild election, a couple of weeks before that. So we knew people were distracted, and just your willingness to say, I'm willing to do this, even if my numbers in general feel a little lower, but your numbers don't feel low at all to me. They feel pretty good. Yeah. So how many meetings did you have total?
So I had 6 meetings, and all 6 said yes.
Wait, slow us down. Wait, congratulations. Can we just be like excited about that? That's
I know.
Misha, how does that
really,
feel?
I hadn't really even completely like thought about until I was getting ready to talk to you, and I was like looking at my numbers. I was like, oh wait, they did all say yes. Like,
what is that like for you now to think about?
Pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
But really great. So, I can swear.
So a year ago, take it back a year ago, what was going on before this in terms of your representation? Can you give us a little bit of what you had been doing or what it looked like for you in your career?
Yeah. So just the year before.
Yeah, sure. Or back further, whatever you want. You give us like a story of what your representation world was like, I guess.
Got it. So I was an actor for like 10 years in LA. And I almost all of that time had representation of some kind. Managers, agents, theatrical, commercially, blah, 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 blah. And I never went out. And I'm talking like one theatrical audition a year, if that. Like never. And I had my own things, which I'm not going to go into like why I wasn't, whatever. I got a lot of my agents in the past because I did a lot of theater, and like the older veteran actors would find out that I'm not going out, and they'd be like, that's unacceptable. And so they would usually like be like, I'm going to have you set up a meeting with my agent. And honestly, because the people who very, very lovingly believed in me were bigger deals, I think that I was brought on to make them happy. Like their agents wanted to make them happy. So they'd be like, yeah, sure, you can put our name on your letterhead, but like, that's all it was.
And
like,
I just want to tap into what you just said, Misha, because I think it's so important is a referral can be so lovingly received, which is what you just said, but it's still, and this is where I have a difficulty with referrals, because I find referrals to be really dangerous because there's still one more person deciding or being part of the conversation with, do we want to be together? And it to me, it throws it off because it can give an actor a false sense of connectivity that might not be there.
And it can get you in the door, but I had no way of knowing, like, does this agent love and like understand me, or do they just want to make that person happy? Like, I think that's kind of what was happening.
Yeah, totally. Especially if you said they were fancy people, they were fancier actors.
Yeah, like, they were working older. Anyway, and then I came to New York and I went to grad school, and based on my showcase, I had an agent not sign me, but like freelance with me.
Yeah.
And I am not bad mouthing her in any way. Like, she's a really legitimate, great agent, but like still in those 3 years, I got one audition.
Got it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't ready.
Yeah, you weren't ready. No, tell me this piece.
I was not, honestly, I had my own things that I was letting get in my own way. Both times, like different things, but like honestly, and when I emailed her during this process to be like, I'm moving on, I said that to her. I'm like, I apologize for not being in the right place to make the best use of you. I'm in that place now and I'm moving on, and thank you for meeting with me. Thank you for, you know what I mean? Like, no hard feelings, this is on me.
Yeah. How did it feel to send that email?
I mean, it felt good to have, like, to not just like it, since I'd never really talked to her, like, ever, like, that was kind of also a thing. She was very much like, don't call me. Like,
made it a little easier to say.
Yeah, but I also could have in past Misha could have just like let that like
decades
slowly melt away, like in a ghosting, weird, not concrete way, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it felt good that I'm like, no, I'm the person who sends the email and talks it out and takes responsibility, and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so that felt good.
And what you just said, I want to make sure that people are tapping into. I'm the person who is such a great way to think about yourself, right? Because I think that part of what we did in this process, I think, is really owned who you're being, and which is why I think people get such a great return on their investment in terms of their energetic investment, I'm saying, right? Is because you say, I'm going to be the type of person that I want to be in my business. So that person will be the one who comes to me, right? So tell us a little bit what life is like right now. Because we talked for like 2 seconds before we got on this call. And I was like, you can't tell me because I'm already gushing to hear this. So tell us.
I have been auditioning 2 to 3 times a week for network TV. I've already been placed on hold. I've already been brought in 3 times to the same office. I've already been like, it's good. It's really good.
And Misha,
really, really good.
Okay, first of all, I've said this to you before we started this call, but it is so easy to be happy for you. And the reason why I said that, and I want to make sure everyone gets this, is I know how hard you worked and work to be a great actress, right? That was not the question here at all. It was never your talent. And it is so frustrating to see, for me to see you never in the game or like out, just playing outside. And it is not a skill that you're taught. It's not a skill you're taught in grad school. It's not a skill you're taught in undergrad. It's not a skill you're taught at whatever training student that like, this is how the business works. And in fact, the business is changing so often that I think the one thing that remains true in all of it is you and your story. And that's what I think you did such a beautiful job owning in this journey. So you're auditioning all the time for huge stuff, not baby stuff.
Yeah.
Also, what I love you said is I'm going to the same office more than once, which to me is like, that's the sign of like, it's just a matter of numbers. It's a matter of numbers. It's a matter of me seeing them right. Good. How's it feel?
That's what I feel like. It feels so, I mean, it's been multiple things that I've had to like, this is going to sound like, I don't know, like I had to like go through a process of kind of like now that I know what it feels like to be getting the opportunities I always wanted and I always knew deep inside I deserved, I had to kind of mourn the wasted time. You know, I was like, this is what it was supposed to be feeling like. And I had to kind of forgive myself because I was like, how did you not fight for this 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Like, why did you not stand up for yourself then? Like, imagine where you would be today if you were going out 2 times a week, 3 times a week. I would have a career. I know I would. You know what I mean? So like, I had to kind of like process that, like grieve that, let that go. Yes. And I also have had like kind of growing pains of like I really did feel like like you said, like I wasn't on the court, you know, and like now that I feel like I am, it's like now you have to deal with all those feelings. Like I you know, I would be lying if there wasn't probably a part of me that was like keeping myself off the court to avoid some of those feelings and the nerves of like, I'm pinned and what do I do with my feelings for these next 3 days or whatever, you know?
Yeah, it's curious when you talk about this because I just think about, I mean, you know, I can't coach someone to the end of their life, right? Yeah. But right, but what I mean, but the preparedness around, oh my gosh, I have to be the person I've always dreamed of being right now can be like, I'm dropped off at the Olympics suddenly. I know how to be here. I just am like catching up with myself. I understand what you're saying. It's so, I think, important I was talking to an actor this morning and we were talking specifically about, we imagine ourselves, once this and this and this happens, then I will like myself. Or once this and this and this happens, then I will like my life. And how those things happen when you acknowledge the truth of who you are first. And so I just love the way you've stepped through that. And I think what you said, you articulated this, like this whiplash growing pains of like, oh, I'm here now. And also honoring that Misha who was working really hard before is so important. So I love the way you said that. So tell us a little bit, like so you did, obviously I think we're being a little opaque here. I want to be very clear. Misha did Agent Goals with me, which is a program that I offer, right? So I just want to share with us, what's one thing that helped you the most, do you think, in the process? And why?
I mean, just knowing that there was like a step-by-step, this is what you do next. So that like, when I would get overwhelmed, you know, I would be like, nope, one bird by bird. Like you say, like, I was like, one thing, just do this. You know, like even once I'd sent the emails, I'd be like, oh, I don't know. Like, I just was like, nope, just do the next thing on the list. And don't let this be a program that you don't finish. You know what I mean? Like I'm in this all the way. Like, cause it was right during when the pandemic was at its height too. Like when I started it, like I was keeping up to date. Like I was there like every week doing it on time. Right. And then I just had a little bit of a period where I was like, we're in a pandemic, you know? And like I was changing housing and like all this other life stuff. And I kind of let it go for a little while. And that's, I don't know. And then I was just like, this is not going to be a program I don't finish. I'm doing this. I don't care what day of what's happening Corona wise. I don't care. It's about to be the holidays. Like this is happening.
I love it. And you're not the first person who said that actually. And so I think that it's normal to kind of acknowledge that, you know, when you're putting a lot of energy into something, there might be a moment when you're like, I need to step back either because life stuff comes up or because it's gotten close. And I believe that those being able to take that pause, the part that I heard you say, I think, was you didn't beat yourself up for saying I need to take a step back.
But I didn't beat myself up, but I also was like, your pause has been long enough. Like you're doing this. You know, I also didn't be like, life's hard, Misha, take another 6 months. Like, you know what I mean? I eventually was like, nope, pause is over.
Got it. Yeah. It's so funny. So you're actually not the first person who said that too. So it was like, we'll take a pause and they just had like a wake up, like, no, we're getting back in again. And what helped you jump back in?
Honestly, there was another group coming up behind me.
Oh, and you knew that someone, so, got it. Great. Kind of.
Yeah. I was like, this is not happening they're not going to send before I do. No.
I love it. I love that. That's what motivated you. Great.
It was.
I love it. Good. It's totally great. Secretly a little tiny bit of scarcity mindset pumping in there, but I can see
how for sure.
Whatever. It took you to get on who cares? It took you to get back on the horse, right?
Yeah.
There was a moment in the journey that we had where you were working on your self-tapes. And I remember we were talking about like, how are you feeling about them? And I remember I gave you a little bit of feedback on them. Can you just walk us through? Because I find that the putting yourself out there when you're like, I'm now going to put my acting in front of them, which is what this the whole thing is like, make them watch you, make them watch you, make them watch you. That's the whole point of this. Cause then they can fall in love with what it is you do. Right. Mm-hmm. What was that piece like for you? Just that acting. Tell me.
I mean, that was the most enjoyable part for me. Like that was nothing but joy. Like you said, like I've been working on my acting my whole life. You know, I've been an actor in that way forever. So like, that was fun. I was like, I'm making tapes that I love, that I rewatch over and over again. Like, you know, this is exactly what I want to do. You know, like these are scenes that one of the scenes I wrote, like I kind of didn't follow all of your rules in that way.
Wait, I didn't know you were, I love it. Listen, I'm also down for rule breaking. I have to say, but like one of the things that I've been noticing is where people decide to put their own originality into the process and make it their own. And I have a value dance inside of my head because one is, I know what always works if you never break the rules. And then I'm like, and I want this to feel like it is your own. And so I have to dance with it a little bit. And so to me, that is then your decision. Which do I value more? Do I need to use only what I know works for every single person? Or do I want to own this? And there's something around owning it that I think is what makes it, when the replies come in, you feel like I truly put myself out there. So I believe in, you know, and obviously you're not going to suddenly be like, I'm sending them a coloring book instead of my headshot. Like, that's not that wild, right? So great. I love that you did that. And actually, I usually don't say write your own scene, but I love that you found a way to do that.
I mean, of my 2 scenes, I wrote one of them and the other one was a play, which I don't think is the greatest idea either.
But you can make it work. You made it work, right?
But I made it work. Totally,
obviously you made it work.
And my reps are like, both of these tapes should be on your Actors Access. We're going to use them. They both were like, we love them. Keep using them. And I did them at home. Like now that I'm auditioning all the time, I've been going into a studio because Corona has lifted a little bit in New York. So it's safe to do that. Well, you know what I mean? It's okay.
You're not making out with a person at the door. I understand.
No, but I wasn't for my self tapes. That was the other thing is I'm such a perfectionist. I was proud of those tapes, but there was a part of me that was like, I should wait until I can go into an actual studio to do these because they'll make it that 2% better lighting or, you know what I mean? Like, and I almost waited to redo them in that way. And I finally had to tell myself like, don't be a perfectionist, like just get this done.
I love that you said that. And you know, what you just did is something I think is so important. I want everyone to hear this and I want to compliment you on doing it is there's a difference between having a high standard and being a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Because your tapes looked great. And I know that how do you, I'll tell you, I'll just share with you how I know that I'm being a perfectionist. You tell me if you can tell. For me, I can suddenly tell when I'm being a perfectionist because I'm no longer thinking about I'll be sending an email out, right? And I'll be like, I am suddenly like looking at every dotted I and T and semicolon. And I'm like, and it's no longer about the intention of the message. It's about how I look, which means it's no longer about the impact I'm making, which how I look is not important, right? How the impact. So for you, how do you know when you've gone too far? Do you have a sense?
I wish I had that, but I guess I was just like, I knew that the tapes I had made showed great acting and looked good. Like, did they look the best of any tape I've ever made? No, but they looked good. They didn't look unprofessional. And I knew that my acting was on point. Yeah. And I was like, I could actually see myself doing this another 30 times, taking another several months. You know what I mean? Like, I could do that.
Yeah. You know, actors have fallen into the little loop of like perfect. But see, what you just said is they looked professional, meaning if I had to submit this tape for an audition, I would not be like, I can't submit it. I wouldn't have walked.
Oh,
yeah, totally.
No,
yeah.
no. Yeah. No, they looked good. I just, you know, I was like, it was that thing of like, if I was waiting to the place where I normally tape or where, you know, I have a coach opened up, I didn't know when that was going to happen. I'm like, maybe that'll happen a week. Maybe that'll happen in 4 months. Like, I don't know. Yes. And for what, maybe 1% better lighting. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I have to believe, you know, that my person is out there and that they care about my acting. And
yeah. It's interesting. I'll kind of put a final cap on this. It's just, I feel like I'll see self-tapes and I'll be like, you know what? It didn't follow all of the rules, but your acting is so good. It broke past that. So what I usually try to tell people is so that your acting doesn't have to be Meryl Streep every time. If you can get that technical part sorted out, you can feel a little bit easier. But I often think like, you know, you just navigate that and you just navigated it so beautifully. So question for you.
Yeah.
What'd you learn about yourself in this process?
I mean, I think I just really had to like step into like I deserve to be seen. Like, I deserve to, you know, this is not a hobby, and like, I can take the next step and, you know, feel good about that. I mean, I think
that's great. That's a great answer. I'm going to ask a different way too, because I think this might help too, is what did you learn about the business that you might not have thought before?
Well, I just don't think, I think that everyone moves at their own pace. And like the fact that you had us talk about like, why now and what got in the way, because I'm not, and this is something I said in my interviews too. I'm like, look, I'm developmental. I am not green.
Love it.
Which is true. Like, that's who I am. Like, I am not green. I've been acting forever. I have been in this business forever, but I am developmental. But also here's why. Like, not just because I was not professional or like tanking my auditions or not trying, like I had legitimate things in my life. Like, I was a caregiver and I, you know, had all these things that had to come first. And because I never 100% left the business, like, it would have been cleaner had I been like, I'm done for
a total break.
Took a total break. Yeah. But I was kind of like, for these 10 years, you know, I still have my stuff on Actors Access. And like, when the people I've worked with before say, hey, can you do this show? I'm like, yeah, but I wasn't really in the business all the way. Like, I wasn't really out there doing the things that I'm doing now that I know I need to do. And I think with your help, like taking the broader view, helped me kind of like give myself credit for all the things that happened, and that it's a life, you know, and not just a career, and that it's fine to like
be a person,
like your whole person. But also like my agent who I went with, like, I loved that she was a human with me on the phone. Like, she wanted to know about those reasons why I left the business or why I was halfway in or why I'm not the place where I should be as of right now, or that she would expect me to be based on these other things, you know? And yeah, just having her be like a real human and like care, but not get weird about it. But like, you know, ask the right amount of personal questions without being like invasive, you know, was lovely.
Right. I love and I just really appreciate the way that you said that, like, I had to own how I was in the business, and you were an authority on your ownership of that. Do you think that's in the past? How would you have talked about it? Do you think?
I mean, I think if I'm really being honest, there might have been a part of myself that had almost taken on as part of my identity. Like, I'm just going to be the talented actor that never gets an opportunity. And that's somehow safe for me, you know, because then it's never like, well, I tried and I didn't make it. It's like, well, I never got a chance. So
yeah. Oh God, that breaks my heart. And I'm so glad that's not who you are right now, Misha. I'm so
yeah,
glad you didn't bring that as an armor, because that's an armor. That's an armor we can
yeah,
put on to protect ourselves, right? And one of the
totally.
things I want to come back to that you said, because it sounds like it's very clear that a vulnerability came through in your messaging that went out. And you said you got 6 people that said yes to meeting with you, 6 meetings, and they all said yes.
Yes.
What do you, was it a yes before you got to the meeting? Did you feel like, was the meeting a verification, or was the meeting where the yes, can you tell us a little bit about that piece of the
I
journey?
think that most of them were yeses, probably before the meeting. Like, it's funny, I didn't have any Zoom meetings. They were all on the phone, and then one guy was like, will you come and meet me in person? We'll wear masks and stay 6 feet if you are more comfortable, but like, I'd like you to come in person. And I did. And then 2 people who were good, decent agent and manager, like I kind of started freelancing with, and then had to be like, sorry. I said to them, like, you know, I'm having these other meetings, and then they'd be like, oh, I respect that, and you should do that. But like, there's no reason why I can't be sending you out while those meetings are happening.
I mean, yes, please.
And I'd be like, well, I don't really have anything to say against that. Like, oh, okay. Because they were like, so let me just put you on my code on Actors Access, and I'll be submitting you while you're taking these other meetings. And at the end of the meetings, if you want to sign with me, great. And if not, peace, respect. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, okay.
Yeah, it feels a little weird, right?
It feels a little bit, because then the only thing is I had to go back a week later and be like, sorry, I'm going in this other direction. So like, that was a little awkward.
Right.
But I had reasons too. Like, they were good. Like, one of them, I was like, this person is bi-coastal, and being that I'm from LA and might be going back, it's just a better choice. So it was nothing personal.
Right. But I love that also, like, they put some skin in the game by saying that. That was their way of saying, like, I actually really would love to make this yes. And I'm wanting to also make sure you hear from me a compliment around the way that it was a yes before you got there is a testament to how both you were vulnerable in your email, which I think a lot of people are like, wait, you explained why you were kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out while you're in the business. And that's actually what got you meeting. And they were a yes before you got there. Yes, that is part of the reason why. Obviously it leaned on your acting, but that you were willing to share, to understand that. And then what I love that you said is you were authority on yourself when you said, I am not green, but I am developmental. What did that feel like in a meeting? I mean, I know you're probably on your phone and in your house because you weren't in front of someone. That also adds a different dynamic. But what did that feel like to just say that? Like, that feels like a lot of people want to own that. And it feels beautiful the way you talk about it.
Yeah, I was just like, look, I've done the work. I have an MFA. I have a BFA. I've been on stage forever. Like, I can do this. I need a team to help me get in the door. Yeah. And also in that way that I think when you're telling someone you're not green, I also think it's not just about like, I'm a good actor. It's about like, I'm not going to be calling you every day saying like, where's my audition? Where's my audition? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that they're afraid that a developmental actor just won't get it. Like, they'll just be a pain in their ass. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you don't have to explain to me what headshot, or you don't explain to me casting. Like, I understand, well, you know, whatever.
It's like boring. It's a little bit boring, actually, I would say. For someone who's not green, all this, I was like, we don't need to waste our time. Let's talk the big game. And clearly you attracted the person that was able to talk the big game with you and not talk the little stuff, essentially. Which, if you needed help with, I know you could ask her for, hey, look at my headshot, but.
Yeah. Well, also, like, the manager who I'm with, I realized that someone from my grad school was also repped by her, and like, hearing from her that she's been a huge game changer and a wonderful partner was like very, very exciting. And that's my experience with them as well has just been nothing but good stuff. Good.
That makes me so happy. And also I love that it sounds like you're able to be who you want to be around here, which is the question I always ask people when people come in. It's like, I just had an email yesterday. She's like, we need another course that helps with when you have to make a decision. I've got too many yeses. And that made me so happy to get that from her. Right. But I said, who do you like yourself the most with is a really good question to ask yourself, because you're going to be on set and be like, this is happening, or we've got 2 offers and I don't know what to do and I need your help. And I don't need to feel dwarfed by you in that moment. I need to feel like with you? Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, like I think some of that's growing pains too, because I have been with so many agents in the past that never got me out and were like very much like, don't call me. You know what I mean? Like, so I sometimes now even like, I'm like, should I email her? Like, and then I'm like, no. Like,
Yes.
she picked me. Like, you know what I mean? It's all good. And you know what else? I am so trying to see the bright side in this whole like different landscape with Corona and stuff like that. Like, I'm really grateful that all of my auditions have been self-taping, because in the past, like the pre-times, all they would have known is we sent Misha out 10 times, she hasn't booked.
Right.
And now they're seeing every single one of my auditions.
Yes.
And so,
yes. Preach. They
know.
acting. Yes.
They know maybe she hasn't booked yet, but every audition they're like, holy shit. Like,
and are they writing you stuff back and saying like,
yes. And that's the other thing I said to my friend. I was like, I feel like the Queen of Sheba. Like, I go out every week, they watch the tape, and then they say nice things. And my friend's like, yeah, that's what they do, Misha. That's called having representation. Yes. And I was like, what?
Wait, what you just said is so important, because I think we think it's like, wait, I'm going to get the scraps from the table one day, right? Just let me have some scraps. And we are so like almost okay with scraps, but it is not okay. It is not okay. That was the whole intention. So, okay. So to kind of sum this up, all right. My heart is beating so fast because I'm so happy for you, Misha. I'm just going to say that one more time. So there are a lot of actors who are watching right now, and they might be thinking like, this is never going to happen for me, or like, how can she's a superwoman. This can only happen for her. They're making you super unique and it could never happen for them. What would you want them to hear right now?
I mean, I just like, I've had several like tough love talks with several of my friends now, because after, like I said, I was like feeling bad for like 25-year-old Misha who wasted those good 20s years. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so now whenever any of my actor friends aren't going out, I'm like, stop. Like, don't waste any more time. Like, it's just, so even if you went through this process and it didn't work out, like, just keep going. Like, so do it again. So like, you have to know for yourself where you're going, what you deserve, you know, like, and then you have to just fight for that and demand it, because it feels so different to be on the court, you know, and to like feel like an actor, like working on sides 3 times a week, and like
that are real. I put in quotes
that are real,
right?
That are real network, and you know, and just keep going, and don't wait. Just keep going and don't wait.
I want to ask you a question, because I think that's such good, like, keep going and don't wait. And what would you say for you who knew the business, why would you have signed up for a course like Agent Goals? What did it give you that you needed that you didn't have before? And be as honest as you need to be, Misha. I really want someone to see themselves in your experience.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I mean, I think I was pretty desperate for help or a solution. And I can't remember what it was. I mean, I trust you and I like you so much, but I also, I had done an agent program many moons ago that I didn't quite finish, and I didn't have the support, and I probably just wasn't ready for. And I didn't know that this would be as successful as it was. Mm-hmm. But I knew that staying with an agent who sends me out once a year wasn't it either, you know? And eventually you have to be like, well, you got to try something, because what you doing ain't working, you know?
Yeah. There's in coaching circles, I talk about this as like dark inspiration versus light inspiration. Yeah. Dark inspiration being like, this has to change, is one way of being inspired, versus, oh, that sounds like a great idea and I want to do that. Both of them can inspire us to new action. I just love the way you articulated that. And also,
and the referral thing, like even when we were in the process, I had a grad school professor who works all the time who was like, you just tell me when you're ready and I will walk in your stuff. And I had put him in a side category, and then I decided to not take it.
To not use that referral at all.
To not use the referral at all. I was like, no, like they're going to choose me all by myself, or I'm going to start over. somewhere
I
else.
just love what you just said, Misha. That is so important. They're going to choose. There's a point where I just noticed this happen. It's like a spark that happens like a third of the way into the course, or maybe 2/3 of the way, where someone's like, oh, no. I want to own this on my own. And that's that magical moment where like, the responses that come to me are going to come because they want this right here without any outside influence. And that is a magical moment, I think. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I love the way you articulated that. Misha, thank you so much. Wait, I'm sure there's people who are going to want to like follow you on Insta and stuff. Do you want to tell them your handle?
It's just my name. It's my name on everything. Great. So, Misha Bouvion.
Right. And we'll put it on the Facebook page so people can follow. And I am so grateful for you sharing this journey with us. I just want you to get back to rehearsing for your auditions. I'm so proud of you.
Which I have tomorrow. So
oh my gosh. Yay. Wait, so just sidebar real quick. Have you had auditions where you've had to be live on Zoom with people, or has it so far only been recorded?
It's been self-tapes.
Got it. Great.
Yep.
So you're the self-tape queen.
Self-tapes.
Self-tapes. All right. Let me know when you're in LA.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, love. Thank you so much for spending the time with me.
Of course.